welcome to What If We Can Change It All, the podcast, a podcast created by Movement.Medicine. My name is Janine, and I believe that we have the power, and therefore we can change it all. So this podcast is all about reclaiming your power. Hello, beautiful people. So, before we start today's episode, I have actually something very exciting to share with you guys. Um, I created something new, a new gift just from me to you, because the people who are in my energy for a bit longer know that I absolutely love to give. So, it is totally free. It is a really powerful activation on how to release decades of emotional baggage in just 10 minutes. So I would highly recommend using it a couple of days, and it can be in the morning, it can be in the evening, it can be in the afternoon. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, it is just a gift that I wanted to give to you guys as my podcast listeners. I think that's all I want to share about it. I think you just need to experience it for yourself. That being said, enjoy today's episode because you're in for a treat. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode. Today we have a very special guest that I never met. Today is actually the first time, but I absolutely loved her name because her name is Natalie Janine. And as you know, my name is Janine, and you might know that my mom's name is Natalie. So I was like, oh my God, I need to look in this person. And then I got to know what she actually does, and then I was even more hyped. So Natalie Janine is a advocate of female rights and women's rights, and especially in the workplace. So she's all about like money is your best friend, and well, you guys know that I love money and I love business and I love all those things. So I was like, I think I need to have her as a guest. So, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, and Janine, thank you so much for allowing me on your platform. I'm really thankful for that. Like you said, I'm Natalie Janine. I am very passionate about women reclaiming their power, living in their power, and shouting about their power. Confident women are just so amazing, and it's going against the grain. I think that's so empowering. So I became a freedom coach partly because I needed to free myself from being sexually assaulted and then being a people pleaser and not really knowing myself. And one way that I felt like I could give back was in our careers. And it started when I applied to 150 jobs and I did not hear back. And I was so depressed. I had taken out a loan for undergrad. I have this degree. I'm not new to working. I've had internships. I volunteered. I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not hearing back? And something in me said, I'm doing this wrong. Submitting a resume and cover letter and calling it a day was not the way to apply for a job. And so for the very next job, 151, I reached out to the hiring manager and asked for an information interview. And then I got hired. And I said, oh, this is what I should have did 151 times. And so I got that job, and it was a stepping stone for me. I knew I was going to stay there long because it was in like a fancy word for receptionist. And a year in the role, my boss and I were meeting for my annual review. And I already knew that I was going to propose a new position for myself because I was bored and I knew I was going to leave or you're going to have to promote me, sir. We're going to do one or the other. And he gave me a 20% raise, which I wasn't surprised by because I was working really hard. And I said, oh, I really appreciate you giving this raise. I'm also asking for this. And he gave it to me. But I want to back up a little bit. When I was preparing for my annual review, a colleague was also preparing for hers. And I said, are you going to ask for more money or anything else? And she didn't want to talk about it. And I didn't feel any type of way about it. I was like, that was interesting. But I also knew that we're not supposed to talk about money, sex, and politics and religion. So I was like, okay, we've been taught that. Okay. And so when I went into my annual review, I came out happy because I got exactly what I wanted. Well, she didn't get anything but the annual 3 to 5% increase. And then she started talking to me and wondering how could she improve. So that started this like career stuff for me. And then I kept meeting with women that were not negotiating, not asking for information on interviews, and not asking for things in our annual review. And I don't fault women for any of this. We have not been taught this.
Yeah.
Men go to the golf course and make deals, and we're unsure what we're supposed to do. And I, in all honesty, I was sick and tired of seeing women overwork themselves and be underpaid. And so I said, I have to do my part to change the world. And this felt like an easy transition for me. At first, I was working in politics, and I thought I would change policies and help vulnerable communities. And I just felt like I got a lot of pushback, and it was wearing and tearing on my mental health and how I felt about life. And so I got out of that and became a freedom coach. And I know if we change a woman's life, we change an entire community's life. Um, and so I feel like I'm exactly where I am supposed to be.
I absolutely love that. And like I was trying to like remember like little bullet points of things you're saying, but like the first thing you said is like you help women to reclaim your power, right? And especially in the workplace. And like for me, that is such an important thing because that's also where my business is about. It's really about reclaiming your power, right? In so many aspects of your life, you're actually just giving your power away. And why? Why do we do that? Because we're used to do that. That's the only reason why we do that. So for
Mm-hmm,
you to like really, I don't know, just like dive into that world and just to see, okay, what is happening and how can I be of service to actually help people do that and to like for people to actually reclaim that is huge. But also
mm-hmm,
the example that you gave, like that you wanted to talk about it with your coworker first and then she was not really saying a lot and that is
mm-hmm,
also like showing like how much how many wounds we actually have there in the
mm-hmm.
like the whole women stepping up for women or like just like backing each other being each other's cheerleader like however you want to call it, right? But like how programmed we are
Mm-hmm.
to not trust one another.
Oh yeah, it was competition. I knew that it was a lack of trust, which surprised me because we talked about so much with one another. But again, money is a sticky subject and it's just ridiculous. And so lack of trust, and I think part of it was competition. And so one thing about me, I was raised that my name was all I had. I don't believe in that today. However, that taught me to work extremely hard, protect my name, and make sure my name is only seen in positivity. And so that created a very perfectionist employee. I went above and beyond. And so I knew that I was getting a lot of kudos, which I don't like when bosses give a lot of kudos because it does single a person out. And she wasn't getting the same kudos, but I'm like, your work ethic is not the same. But my point is, if we came together and we covered each other and we supported each other, we would go so much further because we are stronger together than we are as individuals. But that's not our culture. And if you think about the way girls are raised to be caretakers, to sacrifice, like we see our moms sacrifice. And so even if our moms are not telling us to sacrifice, we're going to do that because that's what we see. We don't do what people tell us to do. We do what people model for us. And young girls and women are seeing behaviors be modeled that gives our power away from day one.
Yeah, exactly. You do what you know. And but I think it's also beautiful that there's more awareness now, right? Exactly what like what you are doing with women and how you are like helping them in the workplace and like get the positions they want and get the salary they want and just talk about money, just go for it. Because at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? You can always try.
Bye. And my thing is, if they say if they say no, you get to make a decision. You
Yeah.
can compromise and create a win-win situation, or you can walk away. I walked away from a negotiation one time and got more money than I anticipated. There's power in both, but you lose when you settle. You lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And what is it what you see the most with the people that you actually work with? What is it that they really like stumble up against?
I would say the power that they hold. A lot of us walk around faking confidence. And I get the fake it till you make it, but no matter how much you fake it, if it's not in you, it's not going to come out. People can see right through lack of confidence. And so I work with a lot of women who are dynamic. I would love to hire all the women that I've worked with because they bring a lot of expertise to the table. However, they have a difficult time articulating the value they bring. They see a position that they're really interested in, and in their gut, they know it's theirs, but they don't apply because they're like, I can't do 100%. Girl, do you see that male who works with you? He can't do 100% of his job and no one's complaining. You better take some of his power. But I see a lot of that just undermining our value and how much greatness we really do bring to the table, I would say is the most common thing. And I tell women all the time, if we don't have the belief in ourselves, other people can't give us that, and other people won't give us the value that we deserve, especially money, if we don't say and show up like we own that. Like, give me what you owe me. It's like it's an exchange. I come to work however many hours a week and give you my best. I expect you to give me your best, and one of the ways to do that is by paying me well.
I love that. I absolutely love that because at the end of the day, it's just an energy exchange.
Yes.
And once you start to see it like that, you're like, oh, okay. Because if I would have give like less energy, like my employer, oh, I don't like to say boss. That's like, I just don't like that word because no one is the boss of me. So I always say employer.
I
Uh,
love it.
yeah. So I never say boss. I try to never say boss. But like your employer also wouldn't like that. So why would you
Mhm,
like accept it from someone else, right? And I think
mhm.
that's the power.
Yes. And I also like telling people that if you wouldn't let a man treat you this way, why would you let an employer treat you this way? Like, this is happening a lot to women. I had this happen to me where employers are stringing you along like, oh, you'll hear back from us in a month. Oh, we need 2 weeks and then we'll give you a decision. Oh, we haven't made a decision yet. Keep waiting. And I would never in my life allow a man to have me wait this long for whatever we're waiting for. Like, you cannot disrespect me like that. And so I had to ask myself years ago, why would I let an employer string me along, drop little crumbs, and I'm supposed to take bites and be okay with that? And so I'm tell some women like, at some point, you got to tell this employer no. Next is better. Without you is better. And I think there's a lot of power in knowing that you get to make a decision just as much as your employer makes a decision. This is a two-way street. This is a give and take, a relationship. Your employer doesn't make all the shots when you're interviewing. They're not making all the shots when give you a job offer. They're not making all the shots when you are working for them. If that's the case, that's not a healthy relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. And what would you say that really what really triggered you in a good way to really see your value, right? Because I can imagine that it wasn't always like this. So how did you really embody that for yourself? Like how did you know, okay, I'm worth way more than that? What needed to happen for you?
For me, I was never afraid to ask for money. And
Mm.
the reason for that, I credit it to being a teenager and speaking to powerful and rich people in Portland, Oregon. Like, I spoke to a lot of rich white folks asking for money for different nonprofits. So if you start doing that at 14, you're asking for thousands of dollars and things like that. I don't have a money issue because I saw them give, like, I raised $1 million at 4 events.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot for a teenager. So I didn't have the money issue per se. I had more of asking
Mm.
because I didn't know that we were supposed to ask. Like, no one told me you're supposed to negotiate your salary every time they offer it to you. When you get a job offer, you're supposed to negotiate. I didn't know that. So when I was struggling and I went to a mentor and he called a friend, I got a job. And I was like, it's that easy. Oh, that's what y'all do. Okay, now I know. And when he offered me the job, I didn't like the pay. I just didn't like it. I was like, this is not going to allow me. And again, I was like 18, 19, 20-ish. This wasn't going to allow me to have fun in the summer. So I was thinking more, I didn't have bills at the time. I want to go out with my friends. I want to go to these day parties. You need to pay for that, was what I was thinking at that young age. And he gave me what I asked for with no like questions or anything. And I said, it's that easy. So I kept doing it. And I got so bold that I would ask for things that felt a little out there to me. Like I asked for a $20,000, a little over $20,000 salary increase. I asked for more vacation time, and I asked for telework, all in the same package. And I was like, oh, you're bold. Like, you're not getting all that. I got all of that, all of it. Of course, she came back and like negotiated a little less. Of course, that's going to always happen. But I had a salary range in my mind. And I want to say this, ladies, don't ever tell anybody your salary range. Not a recruiter, not an employer. Don't do that. But internally, I had a salary range and she came within my salary range. And I was so happy. So I had to learn to ask. And sometimes that's hard because we're giving someone permission to validate our offer.
Yeah.
And when we're doing that, I think it's important to have, I call it a back pocket deal, in the sense I have my second offer. So my first offer, counter offer, is never what I really want. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm not getting that because that's not what a negotiation is. You go back and forth a little bit, but I know at the end of the day, if it's not close to my back pocket deal, I'm not taking the job. And my thing is, I don't want you just to pay my bills. I want you to pay for my lifestyle. I'm helping you build your dream. I'm helping make sure you get good kudos in the public or whatever it is. So I need you to make sure that I can take that trip I have planned, that I can go out dancing or whatever it is. And so I would just ask. And towards the end, I just want to know how much I could ask for. What would happen? And my thing is, I really, really want women to understand that asking and being told no is not the end of the world. And when they tell you no, be okay with walking away.
Yeah.
Because when someone extends you a job offer, you were the number one candidate. Who wants to go to second best? There's so much power in that. So if they don't want to create a win-win situation, just know that you celebrated yourself by taking your power, having your power, keeping your power, and saying, I'll go to something better.
I absolutely love that because I think that's also something um, that a lot of people actually have a fear for, right? Because if I like look back at the dance world, like if you say no to a job about because of like certain like conditions that there are there, you think like, okay, if I say no, they're gonna find like three new people and they're gonna say yes. But like if you keep on living that way, you keep on living in fear and you keep on like living in a way that you actually don't want to have. So what if you like
Mhm.
switch it around and actually see, okay, so if I say no, I actually come up for myself, I speak my truth, I stand in my power. And then if it's a no, it's not a right fit for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because if you keep on like being in that, okay, but if I say no, there's gonna be someone who says yes. Maybe, probably. But then still, is that person really gonna be very happy? No, but are you happy that you said no and found something better? That's a really good
Yeah.
chance. Like that's
Yeah. And no, my thing is, when we are asking, and we don't have to only ask for money. There's so many perks you can ask when you get a job offer. But when we are asking for something, the company is unwilling to negotiate, unwilling to create a win-win situation, those are signs of an environment you don't want to work in. Because when it's time for a vacation or a family emergency and they can budge with some pennies, some coins, some dollars, whatever it is, are they going to be understanding when you need time off, when you need a mental break? And my thing is, I always tell myself a negotiation is us creating a win-win situation. And so if you're unwilling to create that for me at the beginning, I know what I'm walking myself into, and I'm not willing to work in an environment that's not healthy for me. I feel like we spend way too much time around work, either driving to work or from, packing your lunches for work, getting your clothes. Like that's a lot of your life to be going to a place you don't care for. It's a H to the double L no for me.
Yeah.
HE to the double L no for me. So yeah, I think it's important for us to be able to articulate what it is we want, and not just in your careers, everywhere, because everything is connected. And you said earlier how this is all energy, and it is energy. It's so like what I know a lot of people use vibes. What vibe are you going for? And you have to internalize that vibe first. Like when I was saying confidence, fake it till you make it, like it starts there. Like I remember I was not confident or comfortable in my body for a long time. And I would just stare at myself in the mirror and say these positive affirmations. I didn't believe them at first, but I kept going, kept saying them, and then I reprogram my brain to see me as this beautiful soul. And so, yeah, it starts there, but I really want women to connect with themselves. We have been so disconnected from our own energy that we have not been able to ask for what we want from other people because we can't ask ourselves.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because often when you can't give it to yourself, when you don't believe yourself, when you can't ask it for yourself, like how in the hell are you going to do it for someone else? Like
Yes.
honestly, you can't expect
Yeah.
someone else that you can give to yourself. And that's like, now we're talking about work, right? But like if you're not asking it for yourself, it's also gonna ripple through the other relationships that you have, because it is a work relationship, but you also have personal relationships. So it's like you really wanted to learn like how to do that and how to embody that and how just to be like the force of power that you actually are and get to be as well.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's the personal relationships. I believe that we give a lot of people grace, a lot of people benefit of the doubt, and we don't extend that same grace and benefit of the doubt to ourselves. And that's where it should start. Like, I think everyone should embrace mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, are you even living life? Like, we all make mistakes and it's okay. And I have done a lot of manifestation work and positive thinking. And so, one thing I've been learning is when I get upset about something, to feel my feelings. I'm not about like ignore my feelings and like pushing through, process what's going on and finding the good in that. And usually the good is I'm so thankful I honored my feelings. Like yesterday, this is like so interesting. We're having this meeting today talking about take your power back. I had a very traumatic incident yesterday that left me in tears for hours on and off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to feel my feelings. I'm going to process this. And I called my mom and I was crying. And afterwards, I have a daily journal that I do, and I said, like, how did you feel about this situation? What like processes? And I told myself, I'm so thankful I felt what I felt. I'm so thankful I asked for help. I'm so thankful that I didn't suffer in silence. And so I think that we must extend the same grace to ourselves, because if what happened to someone else, if that situation happened to someone else and someone told me about that, I would have been so upset for them. I would have been crying probably with them, and I would have held so much space for them. So in return, I'm going to do it for myself so that I show up as a better friend, sister, daughter to other people. And I really want women to learn to relax and honor themselves. And I know that we live in a world that teaches us to go, 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 and to serve and to be something for somebody else. But really, I want you to serve and be something to yourself. And I know as soon as you do this and the more you do this, it gets better. But in the beginning, you might be called the B word, you might be called selfish, you might be called all these names. And it's because those people don't have their power. A lot of times people project their own stuff onto you, but I really want you to own this life you have. Is you only get one. Live it, live it, live it until you can't live it anymore.
Exactly. This is like, I think it's a couple of weeks ago, I made a video on this on Instagram, and I said like the best and biggest promise that I ever made to myself is to never ever let someone else treat me like that ever again, right? And that was mainly about me. It was not even about like all the people in my life. It was mainly about like the way I treat myself is most important. And if I am being a total asshole to myself, like, what am I expecting from the people outside?
Yes.
How can I expect more from them, right? And I think that's really that's something that is like so important. And why do you have to be so hard on yourself, right? Again, it comes back on programming. Again, it comes back on what you see in your surroundings, right? So why not change that? You totally have the power to do that. You did that.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah, and I'm hoping as we get more information and we continue to see messages and information around parenting that we allow our children to be free. I think it's so bananas to me that children are taught to obey and do. And then all of a sudden at 18, they're supposed to have boundaries, be able to handle conflict, but it never started in the house. It didn't start in school. Like, I really hope we get to a day where our children can tell us that they're frustrated with us, that we're mean, and that they can yell and cry. And I know, like, I'm not a mother yet. I know that would be hard for me to hear that. I mean, my nibblings know that I'm very open to them communicating to me in a freely way. And recently, my niece said something that I was shocked by that I did. I just like, I can't even remember doing it. And that's not the point. She remembers it happened. And I allowed her to tell me exactly how she felt. And I said, I am truly sorry that happened. Next time, please let me know in the moment, because I don't ever want you to feel that way and hold on to that. And I just hope that we get to a point where we can do that and get out of our egos and us being the parents and we know everything, so that we can raise free thinking children that turn into free thinking adults. Because I can't wrap my mind around people being 20s, 30s, 40s and being able to speak for themselves because you didn't learn the first 18 years of your life. Like, that's just, I don't know, that I can go on a tangent about that, as you can see.
Yeah. No, but I do have to say, I do have hope for it though.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
I think we're getting there. I think I see a lot more people talking about gentle parenting. I see a lot of parents talking about not whooping their children, allowing their children or inviting their children to speak their mind. I definitely think we're getting there, and I hope that that becomes the way of life. And I pray for parents. To raise a free thinking child. Oh my God, you're doing mental gymnastics every day. But and I hope that we see it pays off when our children are able to articulate their true feelings.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be amazing. Maybe it's already in like 10 years or something. You can just like slowly see them grow up and just being their own personality, and then like they spreading it. Yeah, I think there's hope.
I do. I feel like it's going to become the way of life. And I think it's, what would be so beautiful, that becoming the way of life and us going back into communities. Like, you used to know your neighbors, your children used to play with the neighbor kids and be at the neighbor's house eating lunch or whatever it is. And I think having that support in gentle parenting would be such a sweet spot, because raising kids is challenging. It can be challenging. And so the idea that you have a child challenge you 24/7, like, mentally you're going to tap out. You're going to, like, so, but if we can do that in community, that would be awesome. And it will allow us to not be in therapy healing from our childhood as much. I'm not saying parents are going to get this perfectly
No,
right.
Never can.
We're going to make mistakes, but I think that children will be less in therapy behind their childhood traumas.
I think so as well. I think so. Yeah. I think, yeah. Yeah, I just agree.
It's all about having your power. Like, I think about, I don't know how you were as a student, but I was called sassy and, like, tone it down. That was my power. Like, I think we're all very unique individuals, and we have our power displayed in different ways, and that's okay. That's okay. Let's embrace those. But they start in the house. They really do.
I was thinking back at it when she said it, and I was really like the model student. So I didn't really talk a lot, but I also didn't really pay attention. Well, I did pay attention, but I just didn't learn at home. because I paid attention in school. So I knew like I had more time for my passions and all the things that I did like to do.
Oh.
So I was that kind of student, but like reflecting back on my life, it is still the way I am because I just like to listen to people, observe people. Then I have my information about them. Do I like them? Do they fit with me? You know? And then I kind of know which way to go. So I didn't really change that much. I just gather it by listening and then I act.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense because I am a very observant person as well. I want to know my surroundings and who I'm dealing with before I commit to anything. Uh, yeah, I would agree with that and understand that.
Yeah. But I do get what you mean with like, if, yeah, but yeah, because I wasn't meant to be sitting in a classroom. I was meant to dance. And I just had to sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yes.
It was just not for me, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people have that.
yeah. And see, I'm a student that you got to keep me engaged because the moment I finish an assignment, oh, it's talk, 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 talk. So yeah, it's just, but my point in all of that is your power was dancing. And so were there creative ways that they could have taught you so that you stay engaged? And my my power was I take initiative. I have a lot to say when I want to say something. And so could I had more control in the classroom or whatever? Like how can we engage people where they are to let them know that they're valuable, they're loved, they're needed so that they can stay in their power?
Exactly. That's the most important thing. There's no one size fits all. And that's
No.
well done. Yeah. So, what would your ultimate tip be for our lovely listeners?
I think the most important tip so that women who are on a journey of taking their power back can take their power back, women who are on the journey of living in their power, because power, and that's a always evolving thing, is to always check in with yourself.
Hmm.
Today I was asking, like I was on my way home from working out and I was thinking about what to eat for breakfast. And I was like, what does your body want? And so that was such a powerful question. The first time I really ever asked myself, what did your body want? And the reason I'm sharing this as the ultimate tip of checking in with yourself, because when you know what you want, you can walk into that, asking for that, getting that, making sure that need is met. And in that, when you are in a situation or you're leaving a meeting for work or you're engaging with friends and family, checking in mentally and saying, what do I need in this moment? And making sure that need is being met and acknowledging it. And the more we do that, the more the creator, the universe will send us exactly what we need because we're not ignoring that and we're expecting it.
I absolutely love that because it is a way of like stronging, making the relationship. You can see that I'm not an English speaker. It's like
You're fine.
making the relationship that you have with yourself like even stronger, right? And really like on a day-to-day basis, there are not really a lot of people that ask you, what do you need? What does your body need? Right. So in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to ask that on yourself, it's just like heaven. So why not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that tip.
Thank you. And it reminds me of my mother. She doesn't often say, how are you doing?
Mhm.
Her question is, how is your reality? And
Mm.
so I pick that up and I'll ask people, how's your reality? And you should try it. I love that question because people stop and think. They don't say fine. I have not received fine ever when I have asked that question. They actually stop and process, like, how's my reality? And like
Mm.
some people are like, I've never heard that. Like, that's so interesting. I say, I ask because I really want to know how you're doing. But if I ask you that, you'll say fine. So how's your reality? And it's just a way of checking in on each other. We need one another, but you need yourself first. So check in with yourself first. And once you are confident and you are in tune and have a strong relationship with yourself, start extending that same love to others. And I just think that we create this beautiful environment that we want to live and we want to engage with these people and do the things that we're doing. Even when it's still challenging and it's difficult, you still want to be there because you have this healthy and loving relationship.
Mm. I absolutely love that. I remember like the last thing I want to share is that when I first started working with a mentor and she said, how you're doing, G? And I said, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm feeling good. And she was like, yeah, okay, so let's make a rule from now on. You're not allowed to say that anymore. So how are you really doing? And then I was like, okay, but how do I actually feel today? Like, really, you start to realize that how often do you just like dismiss everything that happened in your week, in your month, in your day, and just say fine because it's just like you're used to that, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
like I remember when I was living in the UK and I was like going for a coffee or like ordering something. I think they also do that in the US, by the way. I'm not sure. We don't do that in the Netherlands, but like you always say, "How are you doing? What can I do for you today?" And I was like, "Is this person really asking me how I'm doing? Like, what would happen if I say, well, I actually had a shitty day, but can I have a caramel cappuccino?" Right? But we're so used to say, "How are you? What do you like to
Mm-hmm.
order?" Right? So it's really good to. I love that. Just how is your reality doing?
Yeah. And checking on folks. Like my thing is, and I think mastered this would be a bit of a stretch. I'm in the middle of this where checking in on people and just creating the life that I want to live. Not like, you know how people be the change you wish to see. I shouldn't have shaken my head and be so sarcastic with that. I think that's just so cliche and we hear it all the time. But I really work on creating the reality I want. And so I am a person who is very thoughtful. And so I check on people and I just make sure that I create a community that I can thrive in and that the people in my community can also thrive in. Like I want this world to be a place that wherever I go, I can meet somebody. And so in order to do that, you have to step outside of you and creating that. But I will say in the US it's very common for people to ask how you are doing when you're getting coffee. And there is a particular company who I have witnessed with my own two eyes tell you that they didn't have a good day and like asking you how's your day. And I remember one time like, yeah, you know, I'm the clock is ticking, I'm ready for it. And they're like, oh my God, what's going on? So I think some of those exchanges are very much so authentic and some of them are performative because it's so ingrained. How are you doing? Oh, good morning, how's it going? You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's at both can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So how can people find you?
Yes. So I am on social media as Natalie Janine Gates. So wherever you are, I am most likely there. And so I always ask if you follow me or connect with me, please say hi and that you're from this podcast. Like I said, I think you can see this throughout my time with Janine that I am very much so about community. And so I would love to connect with you more than you just being a follower and getting to know you. So please reach out. I don't bite, I'm friendly, and I am rooting for you. Like I'm the CEO of my business. And I always say CEO stands for cheering everyone on. And so I hope you felt that through our time here. And please reach out.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
That I hope that we all get to a place where we enjoy our lives and we're building community with people we can be very truthful with. I think about mental health and we're seeing a rise in suicide. And so I just want people to know, please reach out. Please reach out and know that you don't have to do anything alone. Even if you feel like you don't have your knit, your community, that there's other professionals or there are professionals that are willing to help you. And I hope that everyone gets to a life that they're actually in love with. Like I want everyone to experience that because I think that we've been conditioned to struggle um, and we don't experience peace and ease enough and how that can affect our mental health, spiritual, physical, emotional. And so I just hope everyone lives in peace and happiness. Seriously. And I know that sounds a little woo woo, but it's possible. And I really want people to experience that.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful way to end today's episode. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was so nice to meet you. Yeah, it was just honestly a pleasure, and I loved our conversation as well. For the listeners, thank you so much for listening again. And we'll be back very soon with a new episode. And for now, have an amazing day, evening, morning, whenever you're listening. And we will see each other very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you, Janine. Bye.